Let's open to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 18, sorry, verse 21. Um, casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. The words that we say can either bring life or they can produce death. They either can start life, or it can produce life, or could end it. In our legislation, family is called an institution. Family is not an institution. From God's perspective, family is a organism. It has life. It's amazing. The family is an organism. It has life. It's an organ. Sorry, it has life. That's why family can only be created by God, and people cannot create families. Council doesn't create families. Two people living together doesn't mean family. Just because people live together, just because people live together doesn't mean they have a family. Just because they have children, it may also mean that they have never been a family, because a family is an organism, a creation that's only created by God. That's why we call it marriage, a miracle, the miracle of marriage. Something miraculous happens when two young people join together to ask God's blessing. It's not just uh, um, an empty ritual. Marriage many times is people usually get married because of what happens later. What happens later is doesn't matter. The after party, whatever. The wedding, the marriage happens in church when we ask God's blessing over us, because marriage is a living thing, a thing that pulsates, a thing with life. That's why you believe that only God can create can create a true marriage. That's why we want to push all of the young members of our church to on the right path, for them to come before the Lord to declare their love for each other before God, for God to bless them, and then for them to live as a family, and for them to carry on to exist together as a family blessed by God. Families are put in danger. They develop depending on the words that they're fueled with. The words that we say can either destroy or build up a family. There's a study, a documentary on YouTube, and I was thinking about um, putting it on now, but I decided against it. But they chose Sando. You gonna put it up? Okay, this is an experiment from IKEA, and there's two plants that for 30 minutes for 30 days, sorry, they put them uh, in these pots, and then they put words, a little speaker with words, and the dry plant, the plant that's withered away, was heard for 30 days that you're an ugly plant, that you're broken, you're a stupid plant, destructive words. Whilst the second plant was told for 30 days. By the way, they benefit by the same nutrients, the same water, the same lighting, everything the same. But after 30 days, the second plant, which is green and looks blossomed, uh, was told, "You're extraordinary, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're a great plant." And this is a it has nothing to do with the church, but this is just a study, because the words that we say influence the material world, like these plants, and there's studies, for example, done on the influence of words over water. The molecule of water changes if you shout at it. You can check it. There's a bunch of studies. Our words are not just sounds, but they carry with it a power of life or death. That's why tonight I like us to become more aware that we carry an amazing power in our families through the words that we say. More than that, the words that we use have major effects over our families. And I'd like to read something. A study was published in the sex of marriage and therapy journal, and 30 plus people were questioned that were recently divorced, and these people had to select one or more reasons that for which they divorced, and listen to what the main reasons that most of the divorces happen. On 40%, first place, we find the lack of love and intimacy because one or both partners no longer had feelings for one another. Secondly, on the top most common answers was communication problems, where 44% of the participants selected this answer. 34%, sorry. The partners maybe had a different way of communicating, or maybe one of them preferred to communicate less than another. On the third place is the lack of respect, sympathy, or trust for one another, whilst on fourth place with the fourth place is the with time causing the partners to uh, slowly slip away, fall apart. So the underlying issue that we can see here is problems with character. They're not suitable for one another. And most people that divorce today end up when they end up in the doorstep of divorce, they end up saying, we weren't right for each other, we weren't fit for each other. So the first expression that I'd like us to speak about tonight in this new series of sermons, the words that destroy families, are this expression: we're not fit for each other. As soon as you start saying these words in your family is in danger. Your marriage is in danger. As soon as you end up saying we don't, we're not good for each other. We're not fit for each other. And I'd like us to enter the intricate details of this expression because this expression maybe for some of you seems very innocent. And I'd like us to look in depth to this at this expression. Firstly, we're not fit for each other. This expression is it real? I want to ask you, is it real? How many of you have said it? What is it that doesn't fit? For all of you that have had these types of discussions in your marriage, or at least thoughts, if I was to ask you tonight, if you ended up throwing these words to one another, I think we're not good for each other. If I was to give you the chance to speak, I'm convinced that surely you'd confirm this thing with a bunch of arguments. You'd bring a list and say, I'm not right for this woman, I'm not fit for this man because of the following 10, 20 reasons. Or maybe you guys have more than that, 100 plus reasons. And I believe that people end up in this place based on a couple of arguments. Now I want to ask you something, and I'd like us to imagine this scene. If on this earth there'd only be two people, the strangest, weirdest, oddest, craziest, with his head in the clouds, I don't know, undisciplined man, the strangest man. And there'd be one woman, the most superb woman, the most beautiful, the smartest, the most hardworking, the this, that, and the other. And if only these two beings, these two people, the strangest, and I won't enter any more details, and the best woman, if these two people were to exist on the face of the earth, I want to ask you one thing. How long do you think it would take for them to realize that they're perfect for one another? Let's discuss. We're in an evening of we want to talk about families. How long, if only them two were to be on this earth, how long do you think it would take them to realize that they're perfect for one another? I think less than a day. What I want to tell you, dear loved ones, that this myth of not being fit for each other is just a myth. This doesn't exist. You can't be unfit for each other to two people that got married. And maybe you'd say, I love to speak, and he doesn't love to listen. Or maybe you say maybe we both like to speak and it's a great problem. Don't worry. Just speak in turns. Because if you speak at the same time, nothing will be resolved. Or maybe I like to sit and he likes to walk. Don't worry. You get a wheelchair, he'll walk you around and you sit down. But you can always be fit for each other. This idea of being unfit for each other is wrong. It's a great illusion. Relationships between a man and a woman, that it can't. If these two guys want their relationship to work, it will work, no matter how seemingly unfit for each other they are. If they want to make it work, the relationship will work. We live in a society where we have this mentality of not sacrificing. For example, in our society, no one nowadays uh, takes keeps the broken clothes. Back in the day, when your shirt or when your trousers would rip or break, you would keep it so that you can use the material from the broken shoe or clothes to patch up other clothes. In the family that we worked with that God has created us, it's not like a shirt or a trouser that you can just throw away and then buy a new one and get remarried and divorced and remarried and divorced. We're speaking about families that have come before the Lord and they've received God's blessing. They're not unfit for each other. It's an illusion that the society that we live in has induced. We go from the premise that everyone that is married here tonight have done it out of love. This is the premise that we left from, and it's ideal for it to be like this, and not out of need or out of any other reason. And even if you've done it out of need, something good can come out of that as well. Even if you've done it from any other reason other than love. Maybe I've told you already, but I think it's years since then. But I saw a man I saw a documentary where a guy asked a man from the a documentary where a man asked an Arab woman and asked how can you stand in an arranged marriage? You didn't choose if you wanted your husband or not. How how can you manage to love him? And then she said, oh, you either teach to love him, or you go crazy. And she said, you Europeans eat the soup burning hot, and then you wait for it to cool down. Us from the Middle East, we take it cold and we heat it up. So even if you're here, families that have entered marriage, and I was speaking to a family and they said that they didn't get married out of love, and I was shocked. We're here, we have two kids, we got married. When I heard him, I felt like I felt like I was gonna faint. But I love their sincerity though. But even then, the issue of their marriage can be saved, because even then, the couple can enter a harmony and a love for one another. Because you need to understand that if you want to make it work, you can make it work. And let's start again from the premise that God created marriage. If we go to Genesis 2, verse 22, it says, then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. The man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, and she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and his mother and is united with his wife, and they become one flesh, one body. God creates families as an indestructible unit. Family can't be destroyed, and that's why the Bible says, what God has brought together may man not detach, because he can't. As soon as you detach, you kill. No one can break a body apart limb by limb, and for him to carry on staying alive. As soon as someone takes my hand and the other hand and the leg and the other hand and my head, I die. As soon as you break the family apart, both of them have died. That's why divorce is something very serious, and I want to raise a warning flag For those of you that wanted to divorce before or are thinking about it now, this is your final option. You have no other option. Assure yourself that you've done everything you possibly could. You've prayed and you've fasted and you've insisted and you've tried to sort it out. And because as soon as two people divorce, they both die. Because you can't detach two organs from one another and to keep them alive. No one can break a family apart without destroying the life of those um, that make up the family. Do you guys believe that God creates families? Does God create families? Do you believe so? We saw in the scripture. God does a miracle and the family is created. And now observe, if you agree with me that God creates families, I'd like to read you something from Ecclesiastes. And I paraphrase, I've ended up at the knowledge that everything that God makes lasts forever. And what He does, there is nothing to add and nothing to subtract. If I go exactly to the verse that was just read, Ecclesiastes 3 verse 14, I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, nothing can be taken from it. God does it so that people will fear Him. If you enter marriage with a man or a woman that seems strange to you, it's the perfect one for you. Because God does nothing imperfectly. If God blessed you and blessed your marriage, it is perfect. It is the perfect marriage. It just means that you guys haven't found the balance, the dynamic balance, equilibrium, how to harmonize with one another. Not that one of you isn't right for the other. If God creates families, as soon as you say that you're not fit with your wife or your husband, you're basically saying God made a mistake blessing you guys. As soon as you say that you're not fit for the partner that you were given, you're arguing against the Creator that created you, that created your family unit. Whenever we have these thoughts against our family, against our wife or husband, we have thoughts against the work of God that He has done for us. Therefore, it's an illusion to think that you're not fit for one another. If you ever end up at the point that you think that you're not fit for the person you're married to, this is an illusion and a lie. It's a lie of the devil, and don't believe him. There's no way you can be unfit for one another between two people where God has done this miracle of family. The second thing that I'd like us to think about is, why would these thoughts ever come up? If it's an illusion and a lie, and yet it comes up, and we do think of divorce sometimes. And some people maybe think about it a lot more than others. The first thing that I want to say, and I've already mentioned, is that this thought is a lie from the devil. Don't believe that the number one enemy of families is the devil. If anyone wants to destroy you and your house, that's the devil. And the devil will make sure to bring up lies, to tell you, to bring illusions before your eyes so that you can end up believing them, and for him then to destroy you. Jesus says you guys have a father as the devil and you want to fulfill God's commandments in John 8:44. The devil is a liar. He dwells in lies because he is not truth. I'm paraphrasing. Whenever he speaks from his lies, and the father of lies. The devil is a criminal that follows you. The devil is a criminal that follows you and has destroyed countless lives, millions of families, and will not stop until he can destroy yours as well. If you won't understand this thing, and you will listen to his whisper saying that your wife is not perfect for you, that your husband's not perfect for you, at that moment you've opened up a door towards the destruction of your family. You've opened up the door. The devil will use any medium possible to create a destructive environment for your family. And I want to bring another warning call. Many times he will use people around you. The devil will want to create at all times a destructive environment for your family. And many times he will use people around you for this. He will use people from your friend group maybe, from your colleagues. So take notice, take caution at who you listen to. and who you take advice from, especially in family problems. You guys confess your problems from the middle of your marriage. Take care who gives you advice. The weapon of the devil is defamation. If the man who advises you is the devil himself, your family will be destroyed. If the man that you speak to and you speak about the problems in your marriage, and if he ever dares to defame your partner, know that the devil is in him. The devil is in him, and the devil many times spoke through Peter as well. It doesn't have to be a sinner. When Jesus presented his plans towards the future, Peter all of a sudden saw his function as prime minister in danger and says, "Oh my God, God forbid that you ever die because you're destroying my plans." And you know what Jesus said? "Run back from me, you devil." No matter how many times your friends, whether they're Christian or not, they dare to defame your partner, to say anything wrongly against them, know that you need to depart from that friend there and then. So many families have been destroyed because of the influences of our friends that have started saying, your husband is the weirdest guy on earth. Why are you still with him? He's the worst. And until then, you never saw that. But as soon as your friends opened your eyes up to him or her, you woke up suddenly. Beloved ones, be very careful. The devil uses this weapon of defamation to open your eyes, quote unquote, to your partner, and many times in an unfixable way. So many couples heard the voice of the devil from various people, and they started having different ways of looking towards their partner that they never had before, because the devil uses this tool to destroy families all the time. If he wants to destroy your family, he will plant thoughts in your head. He hates me, she hates me, she wants what's worse for me. He 100% doesn't want us to have a good marriage. He doesn't want us to resolve this problem. This is what the devil. This is the devil's plan. He will show. He'll give you a incorrect perspective of your partner. That sooner or later will lead you to divorce. Why do we think these thoughts? Because the devil lies to us. Moreover, because we have a wrong perception about marriage. Many people enter a relationship in marriage with unreal expectations, and they end up very quickly to become unhappy, because when they step into this new chapter, into marriage, they have wrong expectations. They imagine that the person is perfect, that the other person that you're marrying to is completely perfect and will behave like you expect. And this is why many families end up in a crisis, because they had illusions about what marriage would be like. Know that you married another person, another man. You got married to another man, a man that has weaknesses, that has his own problems and issues, that woke up maybe with his own problems and issues and uh, his own expectations, their own rules from his own childhood, his own background. You're marrying a man with all his luggage, with all his or her experiences, good or bad, and they enter marriage as they are. She is a person that can't be molded to however you want. Whoever wants to get married, assure yourself that you have the right perspective about what marriage is like and who you're marrying, because trust me, you won't be able to change your partner, and your partner won't be able to change you. Eventually, you'll wake up and realize, who's this person that I sleep next to? Because she was different before we got married. Secondly, take down your avatar. Many people like to hide behind a image of themselves. And then when they wake up that they're married and they can't hide it anymore, it's all downhill. Be yourself, be sincere. Tell your partner who you are, tell them what your weaknesses are, where what your strengths are, and expose yourself completely so that your partner will know who you are, and if they are ready to enter marriage, in the same way that you would like to know everything about the person that you're going to get married to. There's so much deformation in the lives of so many people. Her husband, she wants her husband to be perfect when she's not even perfect herself. So many illusions. I remember a pastor came and spoke to me before I got married, and he was saying, "You will never find the perfect church. Walking from church to church, you'll never know. But if somehow, you find the perfect church, never become members, because as soon as you become members to it, it becomes imperfect. Because you guys are imperfect. Marriage is exactly the same. As soon as you enter marriage, you broke it, because you're imperfect. Because you're not perfect. You're a man that needs to be molded. You're a woman that needs to be molded, and you need to develop and grow together. Many people believe that from the very beginning you're experts in relationships. Your husband learns to live alongside you. He doesn't know all these things. He learns them as he goes, and you too. I remember a situation in our family. I have to start telling stories from my own household because where else am I going to say? Emilia, my wife, said, I don't want any flowers. Well, you bring me something else. And after 2 years, she started telling me that she wants flowers, but which she didn't tell me clearly. She kept hinting as if she wanted flowers until at one point she stopped and said, "I want some flowers," and I said, "Okay, I understand." And then I realized that we truly think very differently and speak very differently. Because at one point, when we say the same word, we think about different realities, and we have in our minds something completely different when we say the same words. That's why if you want for the person next to you to develop and to become the perfect partner, help him become the perfect partner. If you want to truly see the value of the person next to you, you have to look in a perspective, not at what he is today, but at what he will become with your help. Amen. Project him forwards, project him in the future. Today he's still in the red, he's still in the construction process. He has no utilities, no skills. But if you help him, he'll become an extraordinary person and fit for you, both for the sisters and the brothers in the church. And a final question that I'd like to answer to. I saw, that this expression that we're not fit for each other is an illusion. And we saw why it happens to come into our mind. Because the devil lies to us. And he does it many times with people around us. So take care who your friends are. And because we have illusions about what marriage should be like. And we find ourselves suddenly woken up in a marriage and, as what am I doing here? I'm not fit for this person. Why? Because you have unreal expectations. Have patience. And help them become the ideal partner for you. And the final question: how can I fight against these thoughts? How can I fight against this thought that comes into my mind? And the first thing that I suggest is have a cleansing of the eyes, your optics. The way that you look at the situation is definite with regards to the way that things will evolve in your family. Listen to me carefully. The way that you position yourself is definite for the way that you will see things. From the place that you stand, whether things don't look good or bad, go up a few steps to look at things, to see a different angle. If things don't look good, stand up on the table, stand up, get a bird's eye view, change perspectives, because the way that you look at things matters a lot. The way that you look at the situation that you're in is definite in the way that things will evolve. It's a great problem for families. The thought that if you would have chosen things differently, things would have been better. As soon as you allow these thoughts in your mind, and the more we speak about this, the more you'll see. As soon as you start thinking about this, your family is in danger. As soon as the thought is born in your head, things are in danger. Statistically speaking, marriages after divorce are failed. Fail a lot. And I don't have a lot of experience as maybe older pastors like Pastor Vladimir. From my short life experience, I saw that most marriages after divorce are failed. Most marriages after divorces are failed. This last week, I spoke about a person that said, I regret marrying a second time because he just got divorced a second time. Because as soon as a family is detached, is broken down through divorce, the great problem is that both parts die. Both limbs die. Definitely there's things to be discussed for specific cases, and there's many things that can be exceptions here. Not all cases are the same, but in the main majority, when two people divorce, both of them die. Why are most marriages failures after divorce? Because you're still the same. Most have the feeling, the thought that if they start again, it'll be better. And no, it's not. Why? Because you're still the same. Many times when new churches are open up, a group from the church leaves or breaks apart and opens a church. And if you had a vision for it to go, then God has given you clear vision and a clear plan to go and open a church. But if you leave frustrated from the church and you out of anger and spite you go to open up a new church, most of these churches that are born up that are brought up this way, they enter the same monotony and routine. Why? Because the people are still the same. The same people that brought the arguments from one place and start another place bring the same arguments. That atmosphere is still the same because you're the same. Nothing's changed. Marriages after divorce are, as a main majority, failures because you're still the same. No marriage has one cause for failure, but minimum two. There's minimum two causes for failure: the husband and the wife. They always carry a collateral blame, even if one carries more blame than another. When two people separate, both of them carry a certain amount of the blame. So the chance for you to find a better partner is very small statistically. As soon as you think, if I was to choose someone else, it'd be better. You find yourself in a very very small, you find yourself with a very very small probability of success. And usually, second marriages have a lot greater problems than the first. And if you don't believe me, go speak to someone that has been married twice or more than twice, and if they are truthful, you'll find that what I say is true. The illusion of trying to replace with what you have, it would be better than trying to perfect what you have. It's an illusion. If you put in the effort and you're willing to go forwards on a journey together, the chances of you creating a benefic environment for you to is a lot higher than ever trying to divorce. If you're willing to go on a journey together, to try everything possible to rehabilitate your marriage, you have big chances of success. But if you divorce, the chances of you having a successful life, statistically speaking, they're very small. The chance of you being happy is very small. It's facts, as the saying goes. Change your optic, change your perspective. Give up with an idea of replacement. It's just a story that will bring unhappiness and it trails by more unhappiness. Let's look at what angle the scripture proposes that we look at. And men, please take notice at verse 2. If we go to, if you can help me, David, I'd like us to read it with the brothers. If we go to the Song of Songs, chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 2, let's say it together. Wherever you may be in a church, let's say all together, brothers. Like a lily among thorns is my darling among the young women. And now, no, do we need to go in detail? A thorn is ugly and it brings death and pain, and a lily is there any point comparing them? It's clearly visible. And if you don't look at your wife like this, learn to look at her this way, because you'll save yourself and her. Even if she's not yet a lily, learn to look at her as a lily, and you'll save yourself and you'll save her also. You'll save your marriage. And verse 3. Now, women, the first part. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men. Not. You didn't all say it. The brothers are unsatisfied. Say it again. Say it again. The brothers all said it for you guys. It's your turn. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men. You know what the difference is between just a tree and an apple tree? Those of you that know, that have some knowledge. Trees are a lot taller, a lot greener. But you know what the advantage of an apple tree is? The fruit it bears. The fruit. What makes the apple tree special, what makes the man next to you special, is the fruit that he bears, his character. When you see an apple tree in the autumn, towards the end of the summer, filled with apples, it's beautiful. I wouldn't give an apple tree over hundreds of normal or any other tree because I like my apples. And if you learn to look at your husband like this, you'll save yourself, you'll save your marriage, you'll save him. Cleanse your eyes, clean your eyes until you learn to see in this way. I want to give you guys an exercise to try. And an exercise for both partners to try, both husbands and wives. Um, Practice it, and I don't want this to just fly over your heads. Practice this. Do this at home. Try an exercise starting from tonight. Search to find all the qualities, the good qualities that he and she has. And in sincerity. Don't just say that she's kind if she's not kind, or he's amazing if he's not. No, with sincerely find all the good qualities that he and she has, note them down, list them all out, and appreciate them one by one as every day goes by. Appreciate one of them every day. Maybe the guy is punctual. Appreciate this. He's very punctual. He's there on time. And if he's there at 10 or at 15 past, he's there at 15 past. Tell him, I appreciate that you're punctual. I thank you. I appreciate that she's organized. I appreciate you're very organized. You have all your stuff put together well. I remember something. You know what always misses from the bag of a woman? Because it's always there. The order, the organization. It's a parallel universe. The bag of a woman. She tells you, bring my phone from my bag. My wife has toys and has pieces of furniture. The organization lacks from there. Apart from that, she's very organized. Search for qualities. And please send him a message. Send her a message every day. I appreciate that you're a good guy. I appreciate that you're selfless. I appreciate that you're very charitable. I appreciate that you're ready to sacrifice yourself. I appreciate that you have a good sense of humor. And I appreciate your smiles. You always come and greet me with a smile. And every quality, one by one, to one another, thank him for them. And if once you finish, start the list again. Please let it be longer than just 3 days. And you'll see, if you do this exercise sincerely, you'll see how your perspective about him will change, how your perspective about her will change. Clean your eyes. If you want to rid yourself of any of these thoughts, clean your eyes. Don't hesitate to contact me, to speak to me if you don't find enough qualities or if you don't find the right solution, and I'll help you. Maybe you need someone to open your eyes. And I'm ready to help each and every one of you that are struggling with finding the right qualities with your partner, and I'll offer you all my expertise to help you. I don't believe that people around us don't have qualities. Let's discover them and appreciate them. I showed you guys the example with the flower. If you give them the right words, they'll blossom. And if you give each other bad words and you argue all the time and you call her fat or you call him ugly, what do you want him to do except wither away? Learn to speak with one another. There's no embarrassment to say 1,000 times a day, I love you. There's no embarrassment or signs of weakness when I hear these macho men saying, oh, I'm not going to tell you I love you. Say it and repeat it till you can't speak no more. Because it's needed. Appreciate your partner. Words have a terrible force and power. If you wanna get rid of these bad thoughts, of these thoughts that lead to destruction, clean your eyes. Secondly, educate your mind. A mental hygiene is imperative for creating relationships in the long term. The same way that you clean and you shower to be clean physically, you also need to be clean mentally. You can't be dressed Armani and dressed and perfumed all up, and your mind is full of junk. Impossible. But many people on the outside are the latest fashion, the latest trend, and their mind is a junkyard, a dump. Clean your mind. Your mind needs to be part of daily hygiene. Let me tell you something. A couple times a year, I get this thought to change my car. I have no problem with my car. It's all perfect. It never broke down. I never broke down. That's I prayed when I got it. When I bought it, I prayed God may it always be okay, so I never have to push it by hand. And every once in a while, I've had enough of it. And suddenly the board annoys me, and the way I see it annoys it, and its imperfections, its scratches, and the chairs annoy me. And for days on end, I think about changing it. I've had enough of it. But suddenly I woke up after a couple of days, and I analyze why is it that I'm thinking about these things. And suddenly I realize that truly, in my mind, I'm caught by selfishness, by a desire to have more. When truly, the thing that I have is completely enough for me, and it answers to all my needs, and I have exactly everything I need, and that's why I bought it. And then I realize, and suddenly I stop. And you know what happens? I'm no longer unhappy. Suddenly, when I realized that my mind has produced in a whole scene from one single thought, I went in my car one morning and said I don't like it, and suddenly my mind took that thought and starts eating it and eating it and makes it bigger and bigger and chews it, and suddenly I find myself writing emails to people to get offers, to give me offers from their cars, and suddenly I wake up and I say, why am I doing this? Do I need a new car? And suddenly when I realized that truly the reason why I want a car is from somewhere else, I'm no longer unhappy, and I find my happiness again, my satisfaction, and my thankfulness for the car that I have. And it's the same thing happens in a marriage. If your partner is not one that's perfect, project him in your mind as perfect. The way that you think about him is essential. Ask yourself, why do I want to change? Why do I want to change in my life? Because then you'll wake up and see that there's just a couple of stories that you let your mind dwell on. As soon as you say, if I got married differently, things would have been different. In your mind, a virus has entered that grows and grows and takes over. And in a week, it becomes huge. And in a month, it becomes a mountain. And you find yourself at the doorstep of divorce. That's why take care with what you put in your mind with regards to your partner. And if one morning you realize, I don't know what this woman is, I don't know what this man's like, as soon as that comes into your mind, kill the thought. There's an amazing poem that says, destroy all the time the head of the unrighteous snake when it's still a snake, because when it grows up to be a dragon, the poet says he will crush you. If you don't kill the snake before it develops into a dragon, it's too late. Kill him there when he's a small snake. Step on him. Crush his head. In the name of Jesus Christ, I order the thought of this unclean thought to leave my mind. Peter says, Apostle Paul says, I make every thought a slave of Christ. And if you find that you can't do it, ask God for help. He's not only the creator of families, but He's the sustainer of them. He's the first most interested that your family works, and any infunctionality in your family is also God's pain. Listen to me. If you don't have peace with your wife in your household, if you don't understand your children, the first one that suffers is God. Because He has created your family to work, and through its function, it makes us happy. And many times you experience these types of feelings, that you're not well in tune, that you're not together harmonized, I provoke for you to step forward and to ask for God's help. You have moments of tension in your family. You see that things aren't working. There's no chemistry between you. It shouldn't be what it is. Don't avoid asking help. Apostle Paul in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 and 7 he says, and I paraphrase, don't worry yourselves about anything, but bring your queries before God with prayers and with thanks, and the mercy that God has will protect your hearts and your thoughts in Christ Jesus. When I dare to come before God and I say, God, please help me in my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my husband, in that moment when I dare to come before God and ask Him for help, God gives you something in return. His peace that starts filling you up and protecting your mind and your heart and your thoughts and protects them. When we're under this tension, we're very vulnerable. We don't realize it. Maybe you haven't realized, but if you're very tensioned or very angry, You can think so many things. If I'm angry with one of you guys, I assume that everything you do is you do it against me. If I was to argue with someone in the leadership of the department, I find that everything that he does, I feel like everything, everything that he does is he does against me. Once got angry of Cornell at the back, one of our deacons, and I found that everything he said at the back was one thing against me, and my mind starts making up scenes. So bring it before God and say, God, I need your help, I need your support, and God will bring forth protection over your mind, over your heart, over your soul, and suddenly you feel safe. A peace that helps me uh, break through that tension. God can save your family too. Ask Him for help. God implicates and helps out your family when you call Him. He implicates Himself. God waits for us to recognize that we need Him. Peter was walking on the water, and then he slowly sinks down into the water. And Jesus didn't pick him up when Peter started sinking. He picked him up when Jesus said, when Peter said, Jesus, please help me, I'm drowning. Well, the moment when Peter recognized his need for Jesus, that's when Jesus helped him. So recognize that God can help you, and you need God to save your marriage. And this is where I want to end tonight. It's an illusion. This idea that you're not fit for each other. Why do we think like this? Because the devil has the interest to destroy you and puts things in your mind, and through other people, he will destroy you. That's why take care of who you listen to. If someone defames your partner, speaks wrongly against them whilst they're not there, you break any relationship with her. Even your mother, if you defame your wife, break any relationship with her. I want to say this very clearly. Between you and your wife is a relationship that no one can step in, can intervene. And whoever dares to step in this relationship and speak about your wife or your husband in a defamatory manner, he needs to leave. And maybe not forever, but for a certain point, a certain time period, you need to kick him out your life, because it's the devil's in him. Why do we have these thoughts? Because we have unright perceptions about what marriage is like, and we find ourselves frustrated because we had unfitting expectations. And how could we resolve things? Cleaning our mind. Don't look at qualities. Don't look at what you think from the other person around you. But don't change. Don't try to change the person next to you because he's imperfect. Try to help him adapt. You change to help your partner, and help your partner change towards you. You both need to be in a unison. If you don't want to dissolve the foundation that your marriage lays on, start thinking correctly. And you know what it means to think correctly? That you're perfect for one another. You're perfect for one another. And you know what I'd like us to depart tonight? When you leave and you'll go back to your wife or your husband, don't forget to tell them that you're perfect. You're perfect for me. Amen. I'll make you promise. What are we doing here? This is church. We're promising this. When we leave this place, everyone tells their partner, you're perfect for me. You're fit for me. You're the one for me. And may this be the chorus for the next 40, 60, 70, 80 years that God has given you together. Because any word of against families will destroy families. Let's stand up and pray. Pray for God to enlighten your mind, to find the qualities for your husband or wife for at least a month. Let's all pray. Amen.